Well, we must have stumbled into some bad luck because Dylan Mulvaney is back. I thought we left Dylan Mulvaney behind in 2023. The last time Dylan Mulvaney was famous, Joe Biden was still president, and honestly, he might have still known what day it was. But Dylan Mulvaney is back in the news, and you'll never guess why. Dylan Mulvaney is cosplaying Melania Trump's New Year's Eve outfit from about 6 months ago. That's what Dylan Mulvaney is doing. Honestly, Dylan, you don't look that great. Now, at first, I had no idea how Dylan Mulvaney ended up with Melania Trump's Versace dress from New Year's Eve. I thought, you know what? Maybe Melania Trump and her amazing, iconic stylist, Hervé Pierre, left it in a donation bin that Dylan Mulvaney went to rummage through like a little raccoon. That was my first theory. My second theory was this. Maybe Melania Trump, she's having so much fun on New Year's Eve at Mar-a-Lago, she goes up and tosses the dress off the tower at Mar-a-Lago into the bushes, and Dylan Mulvaney, like a little raccoon, takes the dress and runs off with it. But turns out that is not the case. Donatella Versace herself sent Dylan Mulvaney this iconic dress that our wonderful, beautiful First Lady Melania Trump wore back on New Year's Eve. Now, we have a picture of Donatella Versace. It's going to make you gag. Let's put it up right now. So when we look at this picture at first, I'm just going to call it like I see it. That's why you guys come here. We are kicking the show off with a bang. We've got Dylan Mulvaney, Donatella Versace. When I look at this picture, I can't tell who's transgender. I can't tell who's had more plastic surgery. Honestly, Dylan Mulvaney has had facial feminization surgery, gender transition surgery, hormones, Botox, you name it, and still looks like more of a woman than Donatella Versace, who is slowly morphing into Mickey Rourke. I don't think Donatella is going to be sending me clothes after this episode, but nonetheless, who cares? I'll also say this. Dylan Mulvaney is not good for any brand. The fastest way to tank your brand is to have Dylan Mulvaney endorse it. We saw that with Bud Light, right? They sent Dylan Mulvaney all of these cans with his face on it, and immediately the stock started to plummet. But I'm the type of person, because I call it like I see it, because I'm fair, I actually somewhat defended Dylan Mulvaney and the Bud Light scandal, and let me tell you why. This is one of my first big viral videos. Some of you who've been with me for years, you might remember this. So Dylan Mulvaney was getting lambasted, raked over the coals for this Bud Light scandal. And I said, you know what? Bud Light, they're the ones who strayed from their core competencies. Bud Light, they're the ones who decided to send all these cans to a man in a dress who mocks women for a living, because that's what Dylan Mulvaney does. That's how Dylan Mulvaney became famous. He was posting these videos saying, I chipped a nail, I'm having a bad day, I must be a girl, this is what womanhood is like. My life has been so enriched by the strong women within it. There are strong, incredible women producing the show right now behind the camera. I can tell you, Dylan Mulvaney knows absolutely nothing about womanhood if he thinks it's makeup, lipstick, hair extensions, and dresses. That has nothing to do with real womanhood. I was raised by a strong, independent woman. I can tell you that right now. Dylan Mulvaney is a joke. But Bud Light, they sent Dylan the cans. All Dylan was doing was collecting a check, doing a brand deal like every other influencer. Now, Bud Light, most of the people who drink Bud Light, they are not transgender. They are not men in dresses. They are not cringeworthy influencers, but some dumbass at Bud Light thought it would be a good idea to send Dylan Mulvaney those cans. I actually think Versace, this liberal, elite, high fashion institution, sending dresses to Dylan Mulvaney makes a little bit more sense. But what I don't understand is this. Donatella Versace, she could send clothes to angel moms, warrior moms, school teachers. Some of you out there would love to have a hair and makeup session, have someone come and bring you a fancy $1,000 dress to put on for the day and go to a fabulous event. But Donatella Versace, she is telling you where her priorities lie, right? She doesn't care about the forgotten men and women of this country. She cares about this transgender influencer who makes a mockery of women every single day and then wants to cry and play the victim. That's what Dylan Mulvaney does, right? Dylan Mulvaney tries to say, oh my God, everyone's so mean to me. Everyone's so harsh on me. Dylan, you have become rich and famous because you put a dress on, all right? People would love to do that. I wish I didn't have to work that hard. In my next life, we could all come back as Dylan Mulvaney and become rich and famous for doing absolutely nothing. Now, Dylan Mulvaney, he was praised by his fashion. He had think pieces written on him in Vogue. But if you're a Republican, if you're a conservative, if you're a real woman who happens to be an independent and goes against the left-wing doctrine, you are going to get attacked by the fashion elites. And that's what they did to First Lady Melania Trump just a few months ago in January in Vogue. They decided to denigrate her official White House portrait where she looks strong, she looks incredible, she looks like she's ready to take on the world. But Vogue, they really had a problem with this. We have a quote right here from the journalist Hannah Jackson. Let me read it to you. She said, "Trump looked more like she was guest starring on an episode of The Apprentice than assuming the role of First Lady of the United States. Trump's clothing certainly didn't help the boardroom pastiche. The choice to wear a tuxedo as opposed to a blazer or blouse made Trump look more like a freelance magician than a public servant. It's perhaps unsurprising that a woman who lived in a gold-encrusted penthouse, whose fame is so intertwined with a reality television empire, would refuse to abandon theatrics and when faced with 248 years of tradition." So this journalist, Hannah Jackson, let's put her up on the screen, right? Let's put Hannah Jackson up on the screen. She has made a living tearing down beautiful conservative women who care about the children in our country. That's what Melania Trump is doing. She has the Take It Down Act. She's doing tons of incredible things, right? And the fashion literati, all of these liberals like Hannah Jackson who live in their walk-up apartments in Bushwick and are miserable and just want to tear down anybody they don't like, what they don't understand is this. If Melania Trump had a D next to her name, they would love her. The same thing with Usha Vance, right? The fact that Usha Vance happens to be a Republican, she happens to be married to J.D. Vance, they are going to tear her down because all of these people, they want to preach feminism and acceptance and lifting women up. They want to preach about Roe v. Wade and whine about the Dobbs decision. But when it actually comes to uplifting women who have an R next to their name and happen to be Republicans, conservatives, MAGA, even independents, no, 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 no. They have no room for those women. And objectively speaking, I say this as a gay man, I can be objective. If we look at Jill Biden, Michelle Obama, and Melania Trump, Melania Trump is the most stunning first lady we've had in decades, okay? I don't care what you want to say, everybody. You can act like keyboard warriors. Melania Trump is the most stunning first lady we've had in decades. I also have to point out, Vogue used to love Melania Trump before she was first lady, before her husband got into presidential politics as a Republican. They would put Melania on the cover of Vogue. Now, they're never going to put her on the cover of Vogue as first lady, which I think is an atrocity. Jill Biden has been on the cover of Vogue 3 times, and she looks like a streetwalker in her fishnet leggings and her leather skirts. That woman... Jill Biden, you look like a streetwalker on Houston Street. I'm going to be nice. I'm going to be cordial. It's our first ever episode. I'm going to have some decorum. We're here on Megyn Kelly's network. I'm going to have some decorum. I will also say, Michelle Obama, she's been on the cover of Vogue 3 times herself, and she looks like an utter calamity half the time. I don't know who is styling Michelle Obama. Maybe it's Stevie Wonder, but the fact that she's been on the cover of Vogue 3 times is crazy, and Melania has never been on the cover of Vogue once as first lady. So all of these liberal fashion literati folks who sit in their penthouse apartments, they can continue to tear down conservative women all they want. But Trump won the popular vote. He won 77 million votes from Americans. That's about half the country. Kamala Harris, she got her ass handed to her. She lost every single swing state. President Trump won the House, the Senate, the Electoral College. So all of these folks, they can turn their backs on half the country. They can denigrate half the women in this country. But even from a capitalistic standpoint, I don't understand what Vogue is doing. Why are you tearing down conservative women when you could be giving them a shot? Usha Vance, she's an Indian American. She's the first Hindu second lady. If she had a D next to her name, if Usha Vance were a Democrat, they would have loved her. But that's why people aren't buying Vogue. That's why these magazines are going out of fashion, going out of style, and shutting down. So to conclude and bring it all home, Melania Trump, she wears a dress on New Year's Eve. She is attacked. She is raked over the coals. They say her outfit is too scandalous. Why is she wearing that as first lady? Vogue drags her. They say she's a freelance magician. They say she's boardroom pastiche. Okay, that's what they say about Melania Trump. Dylan Mulvaney, a man puts on the same dress and is praised by the fashion literati. Dylan Mulvaney puts on the exact same dress, like when you order it online versus when it arrives in the mail. Dylan Mulvaney looks like the Alibaba, Temu, Wish version of Melania Trump. Dylan, you wish you had the fashion wherewithal of Melania Trump. You don't. You tried. Better luck next time. But Dylan Mulvaney puts on the exact same dress and is praised. Vogue is saying Dylan looks incredible. They say Dylan Mulvaney is opening doors for women. That's how far the feminist movement has come on the left. A man in a dress with balls. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't have balls anymore. We'll have to check in and get back to you on that one. But Dylan Mulvaney, a man, is opening doors for women and breaking down barriers for women for putting on a $1,000 dress and going out to a fancy, highfalutin event. All of you liberals are out of touch. You're cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, like I said in the intro. I wish you well.